that have a good rubber seal on both sides, on the door and the cap, for an airtight seal. And I'm going to come down, check my DEF tape, the tank, make sure it's not bent, broken, or cracked. I'm looking underneath for any signs of leaks, and I should be at an adequate level of no less than 1/8 of the tank.
Is there a way to check that out here, or is it only just a gauge in the...
It's really, I mean, you could probably dip the tank right there, but the best way is the gauge. Gauges are pretty accurate on the DEFs, but the fuel tanks, sometimes they can be a little. Okay, I'm going to come over here. I'm checking my steps to make sure the steps are not bent, broken, or cracked. They are properly mounted, secured with all the nuts and bolts, none of them loose or missing. And there's no slippery substance or debris on there that would cause me to slip and fall. Okay. I'm going to come back here. I'm going to check my fuel tank. The fuel tank is not bent, broken, or cracked. I don't see any damage on it. I'm looking underneath for any signs of any leaks. Okay, it should be secured with the straps. There's 2 straps. Make sure the straps are not bent, broken, or cracked, that they are secured to the cab, and that they have a rubber seal in between the strap and the tank to prevent the tank from sliding, and to also keep the metal contact or friction. Okay, my cap, I'm going to make sure the cap is not bent, broken, or cracked. It is properly mounted and secured, tight. It's going to have a rubber seal at the top here, so I want to make sure the rubber seal is intact and not damaged to prevent leaks. Also, it should be a T-bar and a chain, kind of like the lanyard on your car, okay, so you don't lose that. All right. From there, I'm going to check right in here, I'm going to check my drive shaft. Okay, the drive shaft. Basically, I'm checking it the same way that I did on the steering column. Okay, not bent, broken, cracked, properly mounted, secured, and it's going to be secured with U-joints at both ends. Make sure the U-joints are not damaged, and there's no, and that they are properly greased, and there's no debris wrapped around the drive shaft. I'm going to check my my catwalk and these 2 steps identically as I checked those steps right there. I'm going to come over here. Now the book goes from there, the book goes to this, the coupling, but I'm going to skip that for a second, okay? Okay, I'm going to come down here to my brake system. Okay, I've got my brake hose, which is going to be right here, my brake chamber, my brake clamp. I've got my push rod, and this is my slack adjuster right here, and the push rod comes out of there. And then I've got my brake drums and linings in here. Okay, so on the hose, I'm going to check all those just like I did on the front axle, except here on my push rod I can have no more than 2 inches of travel when the brakes are released and pulled by hand. Okay, now I'm going to go to my suspension. I'm going to check my spring mount, which is right here. I've got my U-bolts. I got 2 U-bolts and a shock absorber right there. Okay, I'm going to check those items just like I did on the front. Okay, then I've got my torque spring, which is going to be located right here. It is not bent, broken, or cracked. It's properly mounted and secured. Then, in the very back, I'm going to have my airbags. My airbags are right here. Make sure that there's no abrasions, bubbles, and cuts. There's no leaks. And it is properly mounted and secured. Okay. Then I'm going to check the ICD of my tires, same as I did in the front, except now I can have recaps and retreaded tires. They just cannot be mismatched. Okay. Also, I'm going to make sure that my depth is no less than 2/32 of an inch. I'm going to check my bud spacing here in the middle, make sure that there's no debris and the rims are butted tightly together. That'll give me my little space that I need. I'm going to check my rim and my lug nuts and studs, same as I did on my front axle. And then I've got my axle seal, which is right here. It's not bent, broken, or cracked. It is properly mounted and secure with all the nuts and bolts, and none of them are loose or missing. I am checking for any signs of leaks as well. And then that covers that. Then I'm going to come back here, and I'm going to check my splash guards or mud flaps. Okay. First thing I want to check to make sure the splash guard or mud flap is not ripped, torn, or damaged. Doesn't have any holes or anything like that. I want to make sure that it's no lower than 2 inches from the ground, no higher than 8, and it must cover both tires. Okay, I'm also going to make sure that it is secure to the bracket, and the bracket is not bent, broken, or cracked. It's properly mounted and secure. Now the book does talk about a cotter pin, so there is a cotter pin here, but I can tell you on all the Swift trucks we don't have a cotter pin, so you don't have to worry about it. Okay, I'm going to check my tail lights, which are in the very back right there. They're red in color. They're not cracked, broken, or missing, or damaged, and they function as turn signals, four-way flashers, and brake lights. There is a white reverse light, but we don't have to worry about that. All right, so that's my Form B. Okay.
Okay.
I can do a coupler for you real quick.